Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught driving asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Holy moly, everybody. That was a wild weather day. I don't know any other way to really, my brain was frozen. So last night I started seeing some messages, whether it was local meteorologists. Actually, this morning, Tracy Butler was delivering messages about, well, first of all, she found a vintage item that brought her some fond memories of a dog that she had. It was a very sweet video. And then she said, hey, there's a possibility of catastrophic winds coming your way. So I know that there's been a lot of damage throughout the Chicagoland area. It looked like it also hit Indiana, was moving through Ohio. If you want, give me a call or text and let me know what you saw, if everything's okay in your neck of the woods. We can open the phone lines in just a moment, but you can also text me at 773-763-9278. But I do want to know what you're seeing in your area. On my own block, there were several branches down hitting cars. I'm guessing there was plenty of property damage. I hope that everyone was okay. I haven't had a chance to catch up and see what we were sort of busy here all day, but we stepped out and I heard someone go, look at that shelf. I did take a video. I do have a video of during the storm and then how bright and dramatically sunny it is right now in Chicago. But oh man, that was a kind of a terrifying hour or so in the Chicagoland area. So I hope that you were all safe. And the severe storms, the destructive storms pummeled much of Chicago. There was at one point we saw, I want to say it was, I don't know if it was in Gary, Indiana or in Portage, but there were a bunch of cars that had stopped under an overpass. And folks, I have to say, having watched this, and it lasted for quite a bit, I mean, at least 5 minutes. And I thought maybe they were trapped. There were semis, but I mean, it was on the highway. So my brain wasn't registering why these cars were all just stopped. And I think the cars in the front just stopped because of visibility, which I understand. But you also need to make a path for emergency vehicles. Cars do need to get by. So if you find that you need to pull over in a storm and you want to, you don't want the rain to hit you anymore, you've got to make accommodations for the other vehicles around you. So yeah, we saw a bunch of cars trapped underneath a viaduct because the cars in front had stopped. And a viaduct is not exactly the best place to be during a tornado either. I know we all think that because it seems like a protection, it seems like you're getting out of the rain, but it is not safe to get under a viaduct and block traffic. Just not the right conditions for that situation, because if the emergency vehicles need to get to other people, you are making it impossible for that to happen. So please do not block traffic under a viaduct and trap other cars under there with you. That was wild. So tell me what's going on in your neck of the woods. 773-763-9278. You can text. We'll open up the phone lines in just a moment. We're all just kind of settling in here. But it was, D says they were downed branches, nothing major yet. Family with power outages. There are power outages all over the area. I did jump in and I felt bad after we went live around 11:30 to give people some updates to not wait for the alarms. Don't wait until you hear the sirens or the alerts on your phone. The National Weather Service is doing the best that they can. The people that are still there, we know that a lot of those programs have been defunded. That was part of the cuts that DOJ made in this administration. So be vigilant and try to find information where you can. We were watching a guy on YouTube, and I think it's not a bad place to get your weather information in the moment. Max Velocity has over 2 million subscribers, and then has basically storm trackers all over the country. And so he's able to patch in with them and see things happening in real time. And that's kind of what we were watching there for a while. So let me know, 773-763-9278. Let us know what's happening in your part of the area. Just looking at catching up with some of the texts from throughout the day to see if folks are checking in with us throughout the day about their situation. I am fascinated by this story. I'm fascinated isn't quite the right word. Appalled, not surprised though, with the fact that Donald Trump was whisked away from and I really am trying to understand. Because I feel like I've seen so many different angles of him being whisked away in a catering truck. So and for those of you that are following the story more closely, maybe you can walk me through this. 773-763-9278. So did he board Air Force One, essentially, so you can see all the journalists boarding the plane, And then there's all this other, the journalists are the ones who are breaking the story. And I don't really know anymore, like how any of this is supposed to work in the sense that like, when should we know something? It seems to me as though a better call to make when they realize that there was a credible threat to the president of the United States to deboard. I mean, were they trying to not let anyone knew that they had the intel? And that's why they didn't. I mean, because if they think that Iran might fire on Air Force One and they boarded all the journalists, they're basically saying it's okay if they shoot that plane down because the president's not there. It seems that you would want to make sure that everyone, and not just the journalists, I'm focusing on the journalists because it does lend itself to the idea that Trump thinks that they're disposable, and I'm sure a lot of people in MAGA would just be fine if journalists were. I'm not. By the way, when I say that, I'm not saying it hypothetically. From the bloodthirst that I see in my comments and in my DMs from people who don't appear to be bots, by the way, wishing death on people. Yeah, I feel fairly confident that there are people that would have absolutely no problem with a plane full of journalists meeting their demise. And the president also had members of his own administration, people that work for him, board that plane with the knowledge that there was a possibility, however slim or whatever information that they had, that they were in danger if he felt that he needed to be shoved into a box. And oh my God, the whole idea that Joan came up with about there must have been somebody else in the box, and how big is that box, and is it one of those, like, is it like the laundry bin that they use in prison escape movies? Like, is he under a pile of laundry? Was he under like the linens for the catering truck? Was there ketchup on the catering truck, and did that cause more of a mess on the catering truck? I have so many questions about all of this. It is surreal to say the least. Catching up from some Marty from Chicago, I've been a subscriber. Oh yeah, Max Velocity. Marty says they've been a subscriber for almost 2 years. Anytime there's inclement weather, his channel is top notch. So I would say, since I can't be there with correspondence and we don't have Tom Skilling, although that is somebody we should probably have on the ready for days like today, is Tom Skilling. I know people who know people. I've interviewed him before. Keep America free, fire the GOP. There you go. I like your passion, and that's your first text, 916. We want to hear more from you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, okay. I know I've got a lot going on, clearly, that I'm talking about that's going on in my head first, the storms of the day and the bizarre story about the threats to the president of the United States. And they used a decoy plane that they whisked away in a catering truck to then put him in another plane. And this is where that whole debacle with the plane from Qatar, that it wasn't ready, didn't have what do they call the artillery to deflect or to make sure that a missile. I used to know all these things when I watched Top Gun on repeat as a 13-year-old, but anti-artillery. I don't have the words in my head. I used to have these things. At any rate, that the plane for Qatar that Trump was he wasn't gifted with it. They had to pay like hundreds of millions of dollars and then to retrofit it, to upgrade it, and yet not safe enough for him to board when there's a credible threat. But there shouldn't be a threat. You should just always assume there's a threat to the president of the United States, especially, I think, considering what he's been doing globally in just the last year and a half, that perhaps there's a standing threat to the president and wherever he is. Yeah. So to have the journalist board and then pretend like nothing happened. It's been over a month now, and we knew nothing about this. And at what point should we know anything about this? How much more should we know? And what are your... Okay, when you're talking about Trump hiding in the food cart, I don't think you mentioned that the most obvious thing for them to do would have been to just delay the flight. Yes! Yeah. I know. This is what I'm telling you. It's so much bizarre information that I am struggling to process all of it. So thank you, 630. Yeah, that's what I need. More thoughts like that and conversation like that. Yeah, that's what I mean. Deplane, delay, make sure that everybody's safe, make sure that the threat is neutralized, right? Yeah, that's a good point. Why would you then put those people's lives at risk in order to not delay his flight? And I guess so that he could leave, but make people think he was leaving on a different flight. These are all very good questions. I do not understand. Yes, Tom Skilling, have Skilling on if you can. He's so great. I know he'd be very busy, but giving a try wouldn't hurt. I have a feeling he would enjoy. Yes, Tom is very kind to me. After I was fired from another radio station, which he was with our brother station, brother, sister, whatever, WGN TV, WGN Radio. Yes, he was very kind and used language about our former employer that was less than. It's something I can't repeat on the air. So it was very nice to have Tom Skilling say that for me. From Sam, let's see what Sam's got to say. See Harrison Ford, Air Force One. That's what the president really should be like. Well, I guess, so that's part of it, right? Is it just the idea of him kind of cowering in a cart? That's why I really kind of need him to be under the linens. Like, I really do need it to be like a Prison Break look where they're rolling him through a laundry bin. I do kind of appreciate that. Wow. 312 plane was bait, not just a decoy. It was bait, right? A decoy. That's a good point. They were like, basically, here, shoot this one down. It'll be fine. Trump hiding in the plane crapper with a new hairpiece. I don't know if I want to see this image. Oh, I don't even know what that is, but that is gross. Okay. Yeah, you guys are on fire today with your thoughts on Donald Trump. Drowsy Donnie using the journalist on a plane on Air Force One as bait. I think that is a better way to put it. We keep saying decoy because that's what they're saying in the news. And I sometimes use the most available information until I have more. But bait does seem more appropriate in this situation. Really awful idea that he would have done that. Thank you all so much, by the way, for joining us for these conversations. We're going to talk in a moment with Matt McNeil, the host of the Matt McNeil Show, right here, weekdays at 9 on WCPT. And he'll be previewing tonight's primary election. WCPT, we have, of course, Politics Bar on at 7 here. We have Matt McNeil at 9. But tonight, KTNF AM 950 will be going all the way to 11 if you want to tune in and stay tuned for all of the coverage they have coming up for their primaries in Minnesota. Coming up just a little bit, we're going to talk to former Massachusetts state representative, author of America's Wrong Turn, U.S. Healthcare in the Neoliberal Era, which came out today. We're going to have John E. McDonough on. And coming up just a little bit later, we're going to talk to Anita Locke, the chair of the Democratic Party of Walworth County. And then coming up at 6:30, around 6:30, after 6:30, in the last segment, we're going to talk to Trevor Young, who is running to be senator of his district in southern Wisconsin. And at any rate, let's take a break here. Well, first, thank our sponsors. Thank you to Pride Coffee Roasters. Go to Pride Coffee Roasters and put in a subscription for a bean subscription so that you can get their incredible single origin roasted to order coffee beans delivered to your home. You can also order some of their cool swag. Sounds gay. I'm in. I love it. And they've got I'm on to the Guatemalan brew, by the way, which I think is the one that has the malted milk chocolate and maple. It's so good. And I grind it with my brand new grinder that was gifted to me by my friend Lily from Collective. And you can go to pridecoffeeroasters.com to find out what farmers market they will be at next. I know they're at all the Skokie farmers markets, so check them out there, as well as the Edgewater and other markets in the area, including Jefferson Park Sunday Market every second and fourth Sunday of the month. And I look forward to seeing everybody there again on the 23rd. I'll be volunteering. And also want to thank our friends at Minocqua Brewing Company. Go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and put in an order for some of the most delicious fascist tears you've ever tasted. That's my new favorite right now. I also do like their Abolish Ice Goza. It's like a grapefruit with a little bit of salt in it. That's really good. If you go to MinocquaMarketplace.com, you can shop for brands that promise to never donate to MAGA campaigns. If you're watching right now, you can see the Liberal Lawn banner right behind me. That is available at Minocqua Brewing Company Marketplace. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com. And of course, hello to all of our friends tuning in on Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. Thank you to our friends at Source Solar. Go to source.solar, make an appointment with our friend Peter Sorellis, and make sure that you know everything you need to about getting solar panels on your house or business. Go to source.solar. And we're very excited to team up with our friends from the CFL for their Labor Day events coming up on September 5th. It's a Labor Day parade, and everybody should be there. This is going to be a Labor Palooza coming up, and we've got Eddie Fest. Bob Reiter is going to be in studio with us tomorrow from 5 to 6, and looking forward to that conversation. We also want to mention that there's a great event coming up with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention on October 3rd. The Walk Out of Darkness is coming up, and we'll have some guests on in the next few weeks to discuss that event as well. Let's take a break here and continue our conversation on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, and of course, everyone tuning in digitally, Facebook, YouTube, and Minocqua Brewing Company Substack, and all of our friends who check out our podcast at heartlandsignal.com. More after this.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk and
Or
Pete.
Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Oh boy, there are primaries happening. I don't know. Are these the last primaries? I'm not sure. Matt McNeil has a primary going on in Minnesota right now. Matt McNeil, how are you doing, my friend?
All right, Patty, how are you?
Fascism is exhausting.
It is. I mean, he is. But hey, at least, how did they get him into the food cart? Is this where the food lives? I'm going in there.
I mean, isn't that crazy? This is a bonkers story. Okay, so I've been trying to process this. We've been dealing with storms today, and I've been working on other things. So the story is just kind of slowly filtering through for me. What is your take on this? I mean, is this something that seems like they should have not perhaps made the journalist board the plane and just delay?
Well, okay. So, all right. I talk about this on my show. So coming up later on WCPT tonight at 9 o'clock hour, I'll talk about this. But I mean, here's the gist. So he gets a threat. I mean, he's the president. I mean, this does happen. But he so wants to take his gold-plated Qatari plane with him. But they say we can't risk it. So what you do is you put him on another plane and get him out of there, take an unexpected route so no one can target him, get him back to London, and put him on the old Air Force One and fly him back. After he leaves, you go back on Air Force One and say, hey, guys, we're going to get off the jet here. There was a threat. We've moved the president to a different plane. He's gone. We're going to fly you guys to London and rehook up with him on the old Air Force One there. But because Trump is so I like my gold-plated lazy boy toilet, he basically demanded the Qatari jet, which does not have anti-missile technology on it, to meet him in London. And so basically it's everything petty and small about him. And yes, he did indeed put the President Press Corps, if there was an actual real threat of a missile, they would have been killed. And I guess he would have been fine with that.
Yeah. And his own team, people from his administration, from his office, the pilots,
exactly.
Everybody.
Oh gosh, it's just how does everyone look at this and say, yeah, that's what I like? Really? He's cowering in with the Cheetos, for God's sakes. I mean, I don't think he's the leader that you guys thought he was. I'm just going to say, I didn't need to point things out, but he's horrible.
Yeah, yes, I would agree with that. And speaking of horrible, so he's endorsed Mike Lindell,
yes.
but Mike Lindell doesn't have to worry about the primary, doesn't, because he's running as an independent. Is that right?
No, he is running as the Republican. So, so in Minnesota, we do have the governor's race. We have a Senate race because Tina Smith decided not to run for another term, and so we have a Senate race that's open. And those are the two big ones. I mean, we have all the statewide races. So, not only is the governor, but the Attorney General, Secretary of State, State Auditor, they're up for grabs. But it's those two races, the governor's race and the Senate race, that are getting most of the attention. Now, on the Democratic side, Senator Amy Klobuchar has decided to relinquish her Senate seat, and she is going to run for governor. And I think I can make the November call right now. She's going to win. All right, I think she's going to win tonight because she's really not opposed by anyone. There are a few people on the ballot, but not a lot. She's going to win tonight relatively handily. But the Republican side, okay, so a guy named Kendall Qualls was the endorsed candidate at the GOP convention, but they had problems with their tabulation, so they allowed everyone to go to the primary night if they wanted, which means the Minnesota Speaker of the House, Lisa Damuth, was allowed to go along with her, and as was Mike Lindell. Yes, that Mike Lindell, my pillow, loves his Hardee's biscuits, that guy. And of course, because of his undying loyalty, Trump endorsed him, and it did not look like – I think Lisa Damuth was going to win that until that happened. My guess is going to be Mike Lindell is indeed going to be the Republican candidate to take on Klobuchar in this race. And to tell you how much the Republican Party dreads this already, they actually last week asked the Secretary of State to review his residential records to see if they could possibly disqualify him on that. So they are already anticipating this being a nightmarish situation if Lindell does win the Republican nomination. So
yeah.
So on the Senate side, it's a little bit more, I mean, both sides are really the challenge. Of course, in Minnesota, we do have on the Democratic side, or the DFL side, as they say up here, you do have the race between Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan. Angie Craig is the Minnesota 2 House rep. She has been, I mean, she voted for the Lake and Riley Act. She voted to endorse, ICE last year. She has got, kind of, ties to crypto, which are questionable. But she has been a relatively consistent Democratic vote, but she's a Democrat a lot of Republicans love. And that's kind of brushed some people wrong. Of course, and there's the AIPAC stuff is there as well. Peggy Flanagan is the current lieutenant governor of the state of Minnesota. She is basically the progressive choice, a member of the Native American population. So she's, that would be exciting if she was the state's first Native American senator. She, of course, there has been fraud and Republicans have tried to make the most out of it, but it's kind of hard because she's the lieutenant governor, which is, and unbeknownst to whatever other states we're listening in, here the lieutenant governor is pretty much a ceremonial position. And so it's not like she was the mastermind of the fraud as the Republicans have tried to paint her out to be. So this is kind of, you have the progressive candidate, you have the moderate candidate. This is the latest, okay, what side of the party is winning out? It's been relatively a toss-up. Angie Craig has had an insane amount of money poured into this. My guess is some of it's AIPAC money that's been shifted to different accounts. Some of it's been crypto money, but there has been a lot of money trying to get Angie Craig because it was looking like that Peggy Flanagan was going to win this. So it's going to be close. That's probably going to be the tightest race of the night here, is that race. On the Republican side of the Senate race, Michelle Tafoya. Now, many people might recognize her she was the sideline reporter for Sunday Night Football for many years. She is from Minnesota. She is, I guess, to a point, kind of a more moderate Republican, but she's also, as we are in primary season, very much a pro-Trump person. She is running against Adam Schwarze, who was the surprise endorsed GOP candidate, but he has just not gotten any traction since the convention for the Republicans. And then there's Royce White. Now, Royce White is the delightful little buttercup that is He is a walking hate organ. I mean, that's all this guy is. He was the Republican nominee to go against Klobuchar 2 years ago and got the floor mopped by Klobuchar. He is still on the ticket. He has spent the last week basically saying, I put a wig on. I need to be able to try out for the WNBA. No joke. I mean, this guy used to. I want to be careful. Was he really an NBA player? He showed up for a few games, but that was it. I mean, he is. First of all, I would love to see the WNBA players absolutely smack him around in a tryout. But that being said, that's where he's going. He's just going into this anti-transgender hate mode. But as you and I both know, especially in years when there's not a lot of things that the Republicans can hang their hat on, that's the kind of thing that kind of resonates. Now, Tafoya has been leading, but there's also a lot of concerns about whether or not she would be a viable candidate. She just doesn't have a lot of political experience. And so there is that, but we'll have to see exactly how that plays out.
And you're going to be on the air starting, what time are you guys doing some of the returns?
At 8 o'clock Central Time, our time, I'll be on the air there. We'll be doing some cut-ins during the news and the commercial breaks to give updates on the things as they go, and we'll be carrying that through the evening. So when you're listening to your show up here, which is the 9 o'clock hour, everyone in Minneapolis, St. Paul, if you come up here, you can hear Patty in the 9 o'clock hour. I love her. And you can listen to her, and then we'll be cutting in during the commercial breaks to give you updates on the races as they go. I'm going to expect, I'm going to call Klobuchar at 8:01. I'll do that one right away. My guess is probably the Republican races will be decided sometime in that 9 o'clock hour when you're on the air up here. And then my guess is it's probably going to be the 10 o'clock hour or even later for the decision on the DFL Senate race.
Yeah, folks. So the polls close at 8, and I'll be excited to see how things turn out. And thank you so much, Matt McNeil. Do you order pizza to the station? How do you take care of yourselves on a night like this? Because it's Super Bowl night for us.
Well, it's I've got sausage with peppers. I'm good. I'm good.
Nice. Again, Matt McNeil hosts his own show right here on WCPT at 9 p.m. Of course, his own show is from 3 to 5 on KTNF AM 950. He'll be up all night. Well, not all night. He'll be done. He'll be done by 11, right? Will you be able to wind down after the adrenaline of it all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Matt, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon, my friend. Have a good evening. Pace yourself, and stay away from Air Force One because you might be used as bait.
A food cart, you say?
A food cart. Yeah.
Take care, Patty. I'll talk to you later. All right.
Thank you, darling. Take care. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we're going to check in with our friend John E. McDonough, former Massachusetts state representative and author of America's Wrong Turn: U.S. Healthcare in the Neoliberal Era, out today. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, and KTNF AM 950, plus all of our friends tuning in digitally on Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
No detours, no distractions, just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 AM in Chicago. Of course, our friends tuning in overnights on KKNW 1150 in Seattle. Everyone tuning in digitally on Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. Please subscribe and consider sharing with your family and friends so they can join the conversation too. And look, there are conversations that you might want to go back and listen to again, including the one we're about to have about healthcare in this country. And I encourage you to check out our podcast at heartlandsignal.com. If there's something you missed or you want to go back and hear it again or share with other folks, that's where you can find all of our shows. Look, I've said this for a long time. I believe that healthcare is the crisis of my generation. And I used to say of my generation, and I mean my generation specifically, the folks trying to keep our aging parents covered while raising kids of our own. But I don't think that is necessarily the situation. It's a crisis for every generation now. Your grandparents are living it. Your kids are going to inherit it. And every year I start thinking about every year around this time when we head into the midterms, when we talk about electing new people, I ask every single candidate, where do you stand on universal health care? Because we look at the shutdown fight from last fall, and the fight underneath that fight. And my guest tonight has spent his career inside a lot of these fights. John E. McDonough helped write the Affordable Care Act, first as a Massachusetts state rep, later as a Senate committee staffer. He teaches health policy at Harvard now, and today he's got a new book, America's Wrong Turn: U.S. Healthcare in the Neoliberal Era. His argument is that the real damage didn't start with the ACA fight, which I think we know that. Sorry. I want to scream. Sorry, John. I didn't mean to expose you to that. Started decades earlier in the Reagan years, quietly while nobody was watching. And it's still playing out now aggressively in your mailbox in the renewal notice that you just told you your premium's going up again. John, thank you for joining us today and all the work that you've done. How are you doing today, sir?
Great, Patty. A pleasure and honor to be with you tonight.
So let me just ask you personally, was this sort of a slow, we talk about the frog in the water, right? If you just turn the water up slowly, the frog doesn't really notice it's about to boil. If it's hot, it jumps out right away. This was a slow boil, wasn't it?
Well, it was a slow boil in the 1970s. But then when Ronald Reagan came in as president in 1981, then it actually started to take off like a rocket. And so we have seen the growth of spending, and you can track it into those early years of the 1980s when you can just see the split between the U.S. and every other nation. We have examples like, for example, managed care health maintenance organizations. When they started out, they were all nonprofit. And when the Reagan administration came in, they said, we like these things, we want to keep them, but we'd like to see them all go for profit. And by the end of the decade, most of the managed care industry was for profit, owned by shareholders and responding to investors rather than the people who belong to them. And we see that all over. We've seen this massive increase in monopoly and corporate concentration and antitrust. And it is probably the leading reason, according to a lot of really smart younger economists, the major thing why healthcare is so expensive is because we've had 45 years of this amazing corporate concentration where big companies like United Healthcare and CVS have been able to swallow up everything around them.
And with that, when you say that, they wanted it to be privatized, they wanted it to be for profit, they didn't want to be the nonprofits doing this anymore. What was there any one or several elements that drove that? Some folks, I know Tom Hartman talks about in part some of the racism that they didn't want to have public health available to minorities. That if they were going to have that, everyone should be paying for it kind of mentality. What would you say are some of the factors that played into that?
Well, let's say so. One of the major factors. So the father of neoliberalism in the United States was the economist Milton Friedman, who started working in the 50s and 60s. 1970, September 13th, 1970, he wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, the Sunday New York Times, which basically said the only purpose of the for-profit corporation, the only reason it exists is to provide maximum financial returns to their shareholders and nothing else. Anything about responsibility to your customers or patients, anything about duty to workers, anything about obligation to communities or the environment, he just said, listen, that's just wrong. It's all about making the maximum amount of money. And that included healthcare, and healthcare got swept up in all of that. And the process, there's a fancy word for the process. I hope this is okay.
Yeah.
The fancy word is financialization. So you have people coming into the healthcare sector and buying up, say, home healthcare companies, hospices, veterinarian shops, whatever, buying them up and rolling them up into these bigger conglomerates that they can then sell for a massive profit. And they're not doing it because there's any commitment to providing care on itself. It's just a vehicle where they can make the maximum amount of money to give back to their shareholders and their owners.
I for those who are just listening to the radio, like I'm making a lot of faces because this is kind of, we know these things. We know that it's for profit, that our lives are only for, I'll be very honest. My father had small cell lung cancer, which is a very aggressive form of lung cancer that travels through the bloodstream and was reaching his brain. And so it's not something that's operable. It's not like you can cut out a part of the lung, but he also at the same time had an aneurysm. And I was on the phone with a surgeon who told me that they had decided that and this is a while ago, but this is before Sarah Palin said we had death panels. I personally heard it on the phone when they said that it was a $40,000 surgery, that they did not feel that my father met the standard to be worthy of that surgery, essentially. And I just remember thinking, and so basically if I had $40,000, I could pay for that surgery. And so, your brain sort of implodes when you're fighting for someone's life. What I tell folks when I have a company called With Kind Words about how medical practitioners and at every level can communicate with patients, because in every instance it's about love, right? You want your loved one to be here with you. You want them to be healthy and safe. And so, the fact that we're basically just on a spreadsheet, and I get that that's for profit, but in comparison, all this fragmentation, tell us about how that makes really everybody vulnerable when it's so fragmented like this.
Well, every other system in advanced nations around the globe, France, Japan, Italy, England, whatever, they all have a system where there's one central source of organization and financing for the system, so that there's a level of treatment of people. Everybody's kind of equal in terms of the health systems around the world. In the United States, if you're elderly, you go into Medicare. If you're poor, you go into Medicaid. If you work for an employer, you go get your employer insurance if your employer offers it to you, and for different levels of value and care and so forth. If you can't get any of those, you can try to get coverage through the Affordable Care Act marketplaces. If you're veterans, you go into Veterans Health, Indian Health Service. No other nation in the world fragments and puts all these different pieces together where you have to figure out where you fit into the puzzle. You have to figure out the puzzle. Each one has its own bureaucracy, its own set of rules, its own set of practices, and it creates incredible waste, incredible extra spending, and it doesn't meet the needs of people. we've got a real conflict in American society around healthcare because the corporate ownership believes in the principle of maximizing shareholder value. MSV is the term of art for it. And that is where the owners are coming from. And then the patients and the physicians and the providers are coming from what's referred to as the Hippocratic Oath, which is that you exist for patients first. So you've got a system right now that's at war with itself, with the profit motive exploding and people losing their place in line in terms of what has always been the mission of medicine in the United States, which is patients come first.
Yeah, I just have always, I don't know why, even after all these years, when I've seen it firsthand, I still can't believe that we have gone so far down this path. And I think for a lot of people, it feels as though there isn't any turning back. What do you want to tell folks that feel that way?
There's always a turning back. Well, it's not so much a turning back.
Right. That's a good point. Because turn around, goes a different way. Yes. Thank you. I want to go back.
Go a different way. No, we don't want to go back.
No.
Because there's never been a great day in American history of medical care. There's always been issues. But we need to go forward, and we need to go forward in a different direction in ways that we create much more of a system that is equal for everybody, in a way that people can afford without these massive cost sharing of deductibles and coinsurance that are driving people into medical bankruptcy. We've got over $250 billion in medical debt that people can't afford to pay that's being carried in the system. We have a system that denigrates and belittles the workers in that system, including the physicians, who are more and more just financial cogs in the wheel. So there's a need for a kind of a revolution here, and we can see it.
Yes.
We know what it is. We know what it is. We know what it can be. It's awfully difficult politically to get there in one big leap because it's going to take 60 votes in the U.S. Senate just for starters to try to get there. Even if you had 60 Democrats, I doubt you'd have 60 Democrats willing to go this way. But there are important, big, major steps that we can take now and going into the next couple of years when there's going to be a lot of change happening. So I'm an optimist.
Okay.
I think that this is important enough and big enough that we can get our arms around it and we can make major, important, fundamental change happen for the American people.
And if you've been doing the work and you're still optimistic about it, and you've looked at this from all the angles, the history of it, the practicality of it, then I should also be optimistic about it. I don't know if I can't even say optimistic about healthcare in the United States. Do you mind sticking around for another segment, my friend?
Happy to do so. Thank you.
I appreciate it. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere, everybody. When we come back, we're going to talk more about what folks should do, and getting this in front of their electeds. I want to talk about the Affordable Care Act, the work that John McDonough has done in Massachusetts, because we all know that was the basis for the Affordable Care Act. So I want to learn more in that regard. So more after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150. Of course, all of our friends tuning in digitally. We appreciate you. More in a moment. If I can find the right button to push back here. I have too many. I've got a lot of mice. Stand by.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150, and our friends tuning in on Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. We are on the line with John McDonough. He is a former state legislator from Massachusetts. I really, the work that you have done is really remarkable. He helped write the Affordable Care Act, first as a Massachusetts state rep and later as a Senate committee staffer. He teaches health policy at Harvard, and his new book is America's Wrong Turn, U.S. Healthcare in the Neoliberal Era. And so we've been talking about how obviously the damage has been going on for decades. And I said, we need, how can we go back now? But I think what I often think of is like at least having some sense or some path forward for reining it in, I guess is what I'm talking about. So tell us a little bit about as one of the writers of the Affordable Care Act, first the Massachusetts health care plan under Governor Romney. Is that when you were working on this?
2006 that happened. Yes, absolutely.
So, so what was what was the sort of marching orders that you guys? How did this? Was it a committee that started, and you thought, let's create something that's statewide first?
It was complicated. It involved federal money that the Bush administration was going to pull from the state in our Medicaid program. And so our governor, Mitt Romney, and our U.S. Senator Ted Kennedy got together, and we all worked up a scheme to create the nearest we could come to universal health care as a way to hold on to the federal money. And the Bush administration decided to let us have it. And that's how that worked. But so we reduced our uninsurance from about 7% down to around 2%, just level that had never been seen before in any of the 50 states. It's still between 2 and 3%, except for what's happening now with the Trump administration. So so that was the explicit goal. How much can we drive this down? And we did some things that were controversial. We included an individual mandate in it that became part of the Affordable Care Act. But we did it, and we made the coverage genuinely affordable for people so that people could afford to take it and get it and not put themselves into financial harm by doing it. It took more time to do it with the ACA. It finally happened under President Biden in 2021, when they created the enhanced subsidies for that coverage. And for about 4 years, we had uninsurance in the United States down to the lowest rate it had ever been, about 7.5%, which still seems like a lot, and it is. Every other nation, every other advanced nation covers 99 to 100% of their people. Every one of them.
Where were we when we passed the affordable? Was it because I remember it being like 18% or 20%?
We were 16 to 18%. Absolutely, depending how you count.
Yeah, that's my memory of it.
Just stunning. We got it down to about 7.5%. So that was extraordinary. Now, unfortunately, under the Trump administration, we're going back up again. Well, yeah. And we don't know how bad it's going to be, but it's going to be bad because of their so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act and their other changes that they did to the ACA and elsewhere. They're just, they gave up trying to repeal the whole thing publicly. They realized that in 2017, but now they're back, and they're doing it through smaller bites that are quite harmful and quite painful in terms of America's coverage. And it's going to be a real problem.
What are there any elements of the original Affordable Care Act that I haven't heard any sort of specifics on the things that they're trying to claw back? I mean, are pre-existing conditions still at least part of it for now, or is that vulnerable at all?
That's gonna stay.
Okay, kids on our insurance till they're 26.
The kids that's still there. That's all okay.
Okay.
What they're doing is they're making it a lot more difficult for people to stay in the Medicaid program who got in under the ACA. They're creating a bureaucratic nightmare. They're calling it work requirements. But the truth is that about 80% of people in this coverage already work. And a lot of the ones who don't have illnesses, mental health issues, other kinds of things that make it really difficult for them to be able to hold down a job. But so they're going to start kicking people off in January who can't document that they work 80 hours a month. And it's going to be a real difficulty. We're going to lose millions of people are going to lose coverage just because of that. And then the Affordable Care Act marketplaces, they provide coverage for people who can't get Medicare or Medicaid or employer coverage. And they finally became genuinely affordable over 2021 to 25. And then the Trump administration let those extra subsidies expire. And now everybody in that sector is seeing their premiums go up enormously, as well as their cost sharing. It's just really shameful.
Something that struck me, and as I mentioned earlier about my dad, what it seems to me is that when you're for profit, when everything is to maximize the amount of money you can make off of a human life, then the human life becomes disposable if it's not giving you profit.
Without a doubt. And that's what we see. We see that all over, and we see it in multiple ways. We see it in differences in terms of, people who are non-white, people who are more low income, people who live in rural areas in particular, are significantly vulnerable to just different treatment where they just can't get the kind of care that everybody expects everybody should have. But now it's going broader rather than more narrow. We're going in the wrong direction right now under this new administration, the Trump people.
You mentioned that you are optimistic. There's so many. I have so many more questions, and I think I need to read your book and then have you back to talk more because I have so much more I know we could discuss. But I opened the segment saying healthcare is a crisis of every generation now. Mine, my mother's, my kids, and you say that you are an optimist. If you had to leave our listeners with one thing to carry into this fight, one thing they can actually hold on to, what would that be?
When things get bad, that then creates the public momentum to go forward and to make it better. And we're going to see those opportunities come up starting next year, next January. We're going to see it particularly perk up in 2029. It's a little bit like 2005 and 6 right now relative to the ACA passing in 2010. We're on the pathway. We've got a positive feedback loop that's just ready to get started, and I think that the challenges and the profile of the healthcare problems people are having are going to summon up public demand for action that's going to be met probably in 2029 and 30.
Okay. Well, I look forward to reading your book again. Where's the best place that you would send folks to find your book?
Go to the website of the Johns Hopkins University Press.
Okay.
And use the code, 4 letters, HTWN, and then you get 30% off the price.
Oh, fantastic. And the book is America's Wrong Turn, U.S. Healthcare in the Neoliberal Era by our guest, John E. McDonough. It was a pleasure talking to you and meeting you, sir, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you so much. Happy to come back anytime.
Excellent. I appreciate it. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150, and of course, all of our friends tuning in digitally. Anita Locke will join us in just a little bit from the Walworth County Dems, and we'll talk to a candidate in Wisconsin, Trevor Young, in a little bit.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Oh, with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Well, hey, everybody. Hope that you are happy, healthy, and today in particular, after all the storms, the high winds that ripped through the Midwest, I hope that you are safe tonight. Lady B, if we can open up the phone lines, we'll see if folks want to share any thoughts about how their areas did today. 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. Hello to everyone tuning in, perhaps on WCPT AM 820 here in the Chicagoland area. We have our friends tuning in on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul in the evenings, and our friends in Seattle on KKNW 1150. Of course, everyone tuning in on our live stream, Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. And these videos are all available there. If you want to go back and check it out, you can watch the video on replay, as well as our podcast available at heartlandsignal.com. In the last hour, we were talking a little bit about this absurd story, the revelation that Donald Trump's Secret Service whisked him away in a catering truck and used the plane carrying journalists as bait. What in the freaking frack? And I was talking a little bit about how I just imagine him like in one of those laundry carts that they use in Prison Escapes in the movies. And there are some folks that sent me in a few things. Just so you know, I didn't read everybody's. They were coming in while I was in a conversation with our last guest. But I do want to say, let's see, they were talking about how he was like in a box of some sort. I'm not really sure how. I'm guessing we'll learn more about how this all went down because it is pretty insane. But one listener texted in, I'm imagining the Secret Service opening the catering cart after the flight landed and being shocked because DJT looked like Sloth from the Goonies movie. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, just sort of melting in the cart and all that, the makeup and the orange and all the things. So no, you are not Chopped Liver 872. Just trying to get a few of these when I can get them. There was someone sent me a picture of what looks like Donald Trump in the cart with a bunch of just chowing through a bunch of McDonald's food. I do wonder if they lured him in with a Big Mac and some French fries. But I'm sorry, folks. It is a very strange story. If you have not heard it yet, the Secret Service used a secret military jet to leave Turkey amid threats. He hid in an airport catering container and was taken to a military jet for a secret flight out of the country after he attended the NATO summit last month. The top administration, so all these officials engaged in an elaborate deception to whisk the president away, transporting him in this. I need to know what the container. I'm gonna need all of it. I need all the deets on this because it is bonkers. Let's see what I know. Paul probably has some thoughts on this. Hey, Paul, what's on your mind?
Hey, Patty. Yeah, it is a truly bizarre story. But the more I think about it, I think that the stowaway, this is such a funny image. But
yeah,
what's obvious is that he was hiding from them, the press corps and the White House aide.
Yeah.
Because Iran is not, they can't see him in real time. They don't care. They don't have a video on him, or at least they shouldn't. If there's a drone around there with a camera, that airspace should have been totally cleared. And if there was a drone around there, then they should have gotten the hell off the damn Air Force One, because that means that the plane on the ground is being targeted. They're going to hit it with a missile.
Yeah.
So he's obviously hiding from them. He's not hiding. They're not trying to. I don't know who lets them get away with this because, okay, first of all, there are contingency plans for such threats. It's not, hey, stow me away in a giant Big Mac container, right? It's just, that's not, they have contingency plans. And they would get off. I would think that they would just say, just board and say, everybody just hold tight. Like I said before, like there's the plane needs maintenance. And so the president's going to go somewhere else, and you guys either going to have to get other flights or you can wait for Air Force One. But if the Air Force One's under threat, then you just say, go get other flights, and the White House can pay for it all.
Yeah,
this is bizarre.
Well,
and you're right. It was bait. It wasn't a decoy.
Right. I like I said, sometimes I repeat. I have to check myself when I just repeat what the press says, because often the press are just stenographers for what the White House wants them to say. So that I'm saying what the White House wants to say, even though I don't want to do that, but that's what the press said. And I've got to make sure that I'm mindful of that too. And have you seen the video where the press was asking him why they had to pull their window shades down, and he said it was because we needed to protect us from the sleaze bags that are after him. And you're like, what is pulling down the window shades going to do? Right?
Yeah. That's hilarious. The sleaze bags, yeah.
Yeah, he said, while in Ankara, members of the press were told to keep the window shades in Air Force One's press cabin closed, and asked why, Trump later told them probably on a dangerous flight because of the sleaze bags we have to deal with. Yeah, that's what he said. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and then I don't know that whether the threat, well, obviously they thought the threat was credible enough, and that's just scary enough that this Iranian military that's supposedly been completely destroyed has that kind of beat on him that he's got to get out in a
catering
McDonald's
truck.
McDonald's in a Big Mac container and get onto which seems to me, by the way, if that's, I think he's in a Big Mac container with a Secret Service, another guy who drew the short straw and had to get in there with him, and like, oh God. It was probably only his torture, his torture training that got him through not having to puke while he was in there.
Too much. It's too much.
How gross. Yeah. But it's just like, and the other thing is, why wouldn't you clear that runway, that tarmac of all planes, because you don't know that maybe they got a beat on you right there as well as the plane that he transferred to.
Because they didn't care. And like you said, they wanted to hide and not let people know that they were scared or felt threatened, I guess. Thanks for calling, Paul. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Take care. Let's get to Jim in Chicago. What's on your mind, Jim?
Hi, Patty. First of all, the story's all BS. It's a plant by some berserk intelligence agency. I mean, come on. I mean, let's be realistic about it. No president is going to get bombed out of the sky in this century. I mean, unless we're that crazy. But anyway, that story's all BS. But I was talking about. You woke up with weather. Now, argue with a Republican about climate science, medical science, you name it, social science, any kind of a science. They'll deny it all. And the only thing that they hang on to is the economic science of capitalism.
Yep.
That's their big. I mean, in other words, if we all got enough dough, we can outrun the weather, we can outrun disease, we can outrun death, we can outrun everything. We've got enough money. I mean, that's their argument. That's their argument. And think about this. On Jones' show today, Alito made $3 million on oil. And speculating in oil, and he'll tell you right to your face, well, I got advanced information, but you didn't, so I took advantage of it. I forget.
Yeah, no, that's your problem, that you don't have the same connections and the same circle of friends that want to make sure that you make a lot of money and vote and make decisions the way you want them to.
Well, I know, but I mean, my point is the nerve, the absolute nerve of a judge, a Supreme Court judge, to say that is just, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, there was a judge during the Civil War. His name was Campbell, and he would, at the run-up to the Civil War, he would get a hold of Jefferson Davis. They were good friends, and he'd tell them what was going on in Washington. Here's what they said, and here's what Lincoln said, and here's what he said, so on and so forth. The run up to Fort Sumter. In fact, he gave up the job of his Supreme Court judge and joined the Confederacy.
Yeah.
But the point is, this corruption is so. I don't know how Republicans can stand this. How they. The smell of it, it's up to the ceiling with corruption. And then I wanted to say to Matt, because Matt's always beefing about the crypto, it lost almost $300 million the other day. Now, those are suckers that bought this crypto scheme from Trump.
Yep.
They're not. No, but I mean, there's no. Patty.
I know. It's
insane.
It is. All the stuff that they fall for and the grift is insane. All of it's madness.
Well, why? Can you give me an explanation why?
No.
Why? Because they really feel that. That this Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation and these people are the North Star in America. Yeah, they believe that's the North Star.
They're at the trough of profit, they believe, and he's the one to lead them to it. I've got to take another.
I know you do, sweetheart. I know you. All right, thank you, Patty. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I got a couple of phone calls on hold because we're going to talk in a moment. We're checking with our friend Anita Locke from the Walworth County Dems. Let's get to Billy in Chicago. Hey, Billy, what's on your mind, my friend?
I just want to say about Donald Trump. It's completely fake with the airplanes. Completely.
Why is that?
Well, Air Force One always travels in twos, and they always fly together. So there's no point in switching him because nobody knows which one he's going to be on in the sky. And whenever Air Force One does fly, there's military jets always around, and it has defenses. If it was a real threat, they would have kept him on the ground where he was safe.
So is this just Secret Service making him sit in a box, you think? Or do you think the whole thing is made up? And why would they make it up? Why were just for us to talk about something else?
Whenever an assassination attempt or something close comes to it, his poll numbers go up. And that's why if you look...
I see, yeah.
If you look what he's doing on the golf courses, he's got these SAM sites, the mobile SAM surface-to-air missiles, right next to him on the golf courses now.
Gotcha.
It's the same thing.
Interesting theory. Thank you so much, Billy. I appreciate it. And then we've got, D in Chicago. D, are you texting and calling me? Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Patty. I hope you're well. How are you?
I'm okay. Fascism is exhausting.
Yes, it is. There was just this issue that was just brought up about why Republican-dominated areas, red areas in this country fall for it. And that's a very complicated answer, but one factor sticks out is that in some cases it doesn't happen, like in the state of Kansas or in Kentucky, which is why zombie Mitch McConnell is presumed to be alive when he's really undead or something like that. But point being, our efforts are frustrated from so many vectors that we get divided. I do think that the Republican Party as an entity just has to go. We have more than enough evidence to disabuse us of any notion that anything else could be the case. I mean, look at where we are. Look at historically what we've expected. But the texts I sent, if you remember, about Reagan being somebody that put American troops at risk, Americans at risk in Iran in order to give money away to the wealthy. The Republicans have been doing what? Well, that's Iran-Contra, of course, and then you have Nixon and his secret plan to end the war, which, of course, was collusion with foreign. And the Republican Party has been treasonous since Eisenhower.
It's hard to argue with you, D. And you know what I have to do since you already texted me when it was time to take a break. I got to take a break.
Great. Well,
thank you, D.
Have a good one. Yes,
you as well. Thank you so much. Thank you to our sponsors, Pride Coffee Roasters. Go to pridecoffeeroasters.com and put in an order for some of the best single origin roasted to order coffee beans you've ever had. Go to pridecoffeeroasters.com. Go to source.solar. Make an appointment with Peter Sorellis. Maybe it's time to get solar panels on your house or business. He'll walk you through the whole process, including the collaboration. He is now working with the Illinois Solar for All to work through funding with you. So go to source.solar and, of course, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and put in an order for some fascist tears. They are tasty, and hopefully we'll be drinking more of those in the next few months as we head into the midterms and beyond. And thank you to our friends at American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and the Chicago Federation of Labor. We're going to talk more about their events they have coming up in the next few weeks. Let's come back in a moment and talk to Anita Locke, who is the chair of the Walworth County Dems, and find out about an event they have coming up this weekend that I am honored to join, because you know this fib from Wisconsin is always happy to take a trip up north. It's not just for the brats, I swear.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our drive home. I was volunteering at the Jefferson Park Sunday Market this past Sunday, and someone walked by in a T-shirt with the design I commissioned from Hairbrained. She was wearing a shirt that said "Fibs for Wisconsin," and then completely unimpressed that shirt was my idea, which is fine. One of the reasons I've been working so closely with our friends in Wisconsin isn't just because of my childhood memories and how much I do really love going to Wisconsin and the people there. It's also the organizations that work tirelessly. So we talked earlier about Minnesota voting tonight. Wisconsin is too, and Wisconsin's primary might be the bigger story. Tony Evers isn't the again. The state Senate majority leader is out. The Assembly speaker is out. Every top job in that state changes hands at once for the first time since 2010. On the Republican side, Trump's ally, Congressman Tom Tiffany, is all but locked in as the nominee. On the Democratic side, it's a real fight in a very dramatic race. We've seen several people drop out, including Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez and former Lieutenant Governor, both Lieutenant Governors actually. Mandela Barnes also dropped out. Now it's a fight between Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley and Democratic Socialist State Rep. She's saying Democratic Socialist, but this is like the story is insane. But Representative Francesca Hong, and our guest chairs the Democratic Party in Walworth County, one of the reddest counties in the state, and she's been there in the trenches for this one and many other battles. Anita Locke, welcome back to the show. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. I have to be honest, we're all very anxious to see what happens tonight. So we have the governor's race that you mentioned. In Walworth, we also have Congressional District 1, which is one of the two congressional in Wisconsin projected or that could flip. So we're working really hard to make that happen as well. Obviously taking U.S. Congress, big deal, and getting our trifecta in Wisconsin, big deal. So yeah, I can't wait till after 9 o'clock and we start hopefully seeing some returns at some point then.
And coming up in the next, that's what I should have told you, the interview I will be airing tonight before we head out of here is with Trevor Young. And I had a great conversation with him earlier today. Really impressed with the work he does with the transportation in Racine. So you've got some really great candidates. And look, Tom Tiffany's got this locked. He's got Trump's backing. And so tell us what, there's so much conversation around, who can beat Tom Tiffany, who can beat Tom Tiffany. You guys are locked into just helping the candidates. Do you guys endorse, or do you wait until to see how things shake out after the primary?
Yeah, we do not endorse. Yeah. So that is from WisDems on down. We do not endorse. We've got wonderful candidates up and down the ballot. We really do. And we've had more candidates this time around than normal. And know, they've been in and out and in and out. So, but yeah, it's going to be great to get a final slate of candidates by tomorrow morning, hopefully. And then we've got 84 days to win that November 3rd election. So we're ready to go. We are ready to go.
Are there several factors in play for that many candidates? Is it, with how bad things are right now? Is it, people just feel like this was their time to jump into a race because there are so many moving parts? It's a lot of factors, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot. I think we have had better luck recruiting this year than ever before because I do most of the recruiting in Walworth. And in fact, we did such a good job. We have 2 running for Senate 11 and 2 running for Assembly 33. And obviously we have more in a lot of the other races. But I think a lot of Dems are getting in because of the issues. The affordability is huge, and Wisconsin obviously is suffering as well. The war, everybody is against this illegal war here in this county. You look at immigrants in Walworth County, we have a large representation. I live in Whitewater, and we have wonderful community. And so we have organized, and we're really opposed to what ICE is doing and the administration as well. So big issues. Up and down. Issues.
I think that's some of my favorite memories of doing work in Wisconsin, and I will be back. Adam Selzer already messaged me and wanted to know when we're gearing up and doing Fibs for Wisconsin rides again, and you can count on it. Believe me, I really love working with you guys. And but the students at Whitewater were fantastic, and I look forward to working with them again as well. I think one of my favorite moments was that I wasn't there, but I had given them all a bunch of Fibs for Wisconsin buttons, and they gave one to Governor Pritzker, and he hadn't heard that. They were like, they're trying to explain it to him, like, I don't really know how to tell you. It's effing Illinois bastards. It was fantastic. They're great up there.
We have had a wonderful, it's probably going on 6 years or so, relationship with our college Dems, and they are with us all the time. They canvass with us. They go to our parades, and they actually pretend they like us, which is always good too. But yeah, they're wonderful, and they just dynamic organization. In fact, I was working this afternoon with a young lady in Madison who is vice chair of the Wisconsin high school Dems. And so we're going to collaborate and get that chapter down here in Walworth County as well. And we're going to start with Whitewater and obviously get those student Dems at UW together and help her make that happen here as well. So young people in the organization, it just makes such a difference, obviously.
It really does. And I was telling folks earlier, or maybe it was the interview I did with Trevor Young, who again is the candidate for state senator of the Racine area and southern Milwaukee County, Racine County. And one of the things I remember about door knocking for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz was, you had people, Anita, people were flying in from California, from Boston. We met people from all over the country who descended upon Elkhorn, Wisconsin. And I remember going over and around the corner to the Republicans' office, and there was nothing going on. And they presumed victory. What's your feeling about the turnout and the work that you've done to get voters to the polls for this primary?
I think we're going to have really high turnout. The stakes are so high. We've been out since March, April, knocking doors and doing everything we can to get people engaged. And people are showing up. We're getting 80 to 100 people at our general meetings once a month. Our No Kings we hosted in March, we got over 700 people in Delavan. So there's momentum, but it's really, you got to keep at it because people are also overwhelmed. And so it's really just trying to connect with them and get them out there to vote. We say, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, everybody you talk to. And and I'm hoping for a really good turnout tonight, but more importantly, that we get those voters out for November, obviously.
Absolutely. So tell us about the event you have coming up this Sunday, August 16th in Elkhorn, Wisconsin.
Well, I'm so excited. So as you and I talked briefly, we were chosen as one of 17 locations for this first Forward for Wisconsin tour, they're calling it. And so they're going to those different locations. We're on Sunday, the 16th, which is coming up shortly. From 11 to 1, we will have candidates, Assembly, Senate, and CD1 and 5. But at noon, we have the tour arriving, and we'll have our governor, our lieutenant governor, our secretary of state, our treasurer, and they are coming with Devin Remiker, who is our WSDEM's chair. So we are more than excited to have all of them there. We'll have a chance, obviously, they'll be speaking to us, getting us ready to go to win in November, but we'll also have time for them to mingle and talk to our people who are attending and really have a chance for them to get to know them as well. You're going to be there, so
Yes.
it's going to add to the excitement. And then following the tour, we had already scheduled we call it Dem Fest. It's our picnic indoors, outdoors if we can. And so we're then going to finish up. The tour leaves at 1, and then we're going to eat and have fun and celebrate with you. So anyway, it's going to be a wonderful day. Wonderful.
I'm very excited. Again, how do folks register to come on up to Elkhorn, Wisconsin and join with the Walworth County Dems and get involved?
Go to our website, walworthdems.org. And it's right on that homepage, and you'll be able to sign up. You can sign up for the rally only, the meet and greet, or you can sign up for both. So meet and greet, get to know all of our candidates, our final candidates, and then have really good food. And Patty, in Walworth County, we have really good food.
I mean, like crazy. It's so funny because one of the people that supplies your barbecue, I think it was the pulled pork, I ended up ringing their doorbell. They were outside with like their smokers and their barbecue, like the whole rig set up. I was like, is this where it comes from? This is the magic land. Really good food.
You'll be pleased to hear that same volunteer and his wife are furnishing all the pulled pork for Sunday.
Well, folks, I'm just saying. You may not care what I have to say or the candidates and some of the electeds. Come for the pulled pork, and I think there's always mac and cheese with that as well. Before we let you go, Anita, we have listeners all over the country, and they might live in areas that are similar to Walworth County, where you've got a pretty a lot of MAGA voters, a lot of conservatives. Maybe they feel like their vote doesn't count. What would you want to share with them tonight?
Well, first of all, every vote counts. And when we get the vote out in Walworth County, even if our candidates don't always win, we are pushing that vote up for the state, and we're helping our statewide, and we're helping, obviously, our congressional candidates. So every vote matters. We push as hard as we can. And for the Supreme Court race this spring, we got 49.6% of the vote in Walworth County. So it's coming. We're always optimistic.
And a lot of that is really due to work like yours and everybody there. I don't want to name any names, but also Ellen Holly. Is she coming back for your event, or is she still in Minnesota?
I think she's right now on the East Coast, visiting family out in Massachusetts. But I've been texting, and she's going to make an effort to be there.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll be the case. Yeah.
Well, I love all of you, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Have a great evening, and I'm excited to see what the results show us tonight. I know you'll be up for a while.
I will. I've got a podcast going with Dan Schaefer, and I've got the network news.
Dan Schaefer, the recombobulation area. Excellent. Tell him I said hi.
I will.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you, Anita. I'll see you on Sunday. Bye-bye. Let's take a break here. We'll be right back after this on WCPT, KKNW, and KTNF, and of course, all the digital spots like Facebook, YouTube, and Minocqua Brewing Company Substack.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
Or Pete.
I can't find the right button. I'll just start talking. Hi, everybody. I've got so much going on right now. We are about to have an interview with Trevor Young, who I interviewed earlier today. A great conversation with somebody who is going to be in the general election. He has nobody challenging him in the primary. So I really enjoyed our conversation together. I also want to remind you guys about the Minocqua Marketplace, which is a one-stop shop for Minocqua Brewing Company's beer, the gourmet woke coffee, and the merchandise, including pint glasses and coffee mugs. To get a 10% discount on any of the beer, coffee, pint glasses, or coffee mugs, simply type in the coupon code WOKE. That's coupon code WOKE, and a percentage of every purchase made on the Minocqua Marketplace is donated back to groups fighting the resistance in Chicago, Wisconsin, the Twin Cities, and everywhere. Buy progressively at MinocquaMarketplace.com and save democracy with your wallet. There's a lot going on in the world, and I'm so glad that you guys join us for these conversations. Please try to tell the folks in your life that we're here, that maybe I know that we have MAGA listeners, and I know some of them send hateful things, but I also know that there's some that are looking for these conversations, and I know sometimes they sound dismissive. I'm frustrated, and it can come out in ways that maybe aren't your favorite. But thank you so much for joining us when you do and when you can. And don't forget, tomorrow on Choose Views, Amy Fields-Meyer, senior fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School's Allen Lab for Democracy Renovation, and Julia Angwin, award-winning investigative journalist. They're the authors of the new book on courage, How to Be a Dissident in the Age of Fears. One of the interviews that Richard Chu will have tomorrow from 6 to 8 a.m. on WCPT right here. And then Aaron Kleinman will join Jonas Pizzito, Heartland Signal's senior political analyst and author of the Radio Free America newsletter, which you can find at heartlandsignal.com. Thank you so much, everybody. Lady B, take it away.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. And of course, we thank all of our friends who are joining us digitally on Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack, where you can find, if you're watching, the Liberal Lawn banner on the Minocqua Marketplace, by the way, MinocquaMarketplace.com. We won't go quietly back to the 1950s, and I really enjoy that banner. Every day, by the way, our next guest manages a $10 million transit budget, getting seniors to dialysis and single parents to their shifts. And every day Washington makes that job harder. Trump's own 2027 budget request would cut federal transit funding by 23% nationally. And there's a real push in Congress right now to eliminate the mass transit account inside the Highway Trust Fund entirely. As we know, the president has been working on the impoundment, rescinding any kind of funding that was already allocated by Congress. And that's a conversation for another day, because transportation advocates are calling these moves exactly what it sounds like, something that would gut state and local transportation budgets outright. Our guest has lived that fight from the driver's seat, literally. Trevor Young. Am I saying your last name correctly, Trevor?
Young.
Young. Yeah, I knew I was screwing that up already. Trevor Young is Racine's Director of Transit and Mobility, a former Racine alderperson, the city's youngest since 1862, and now the Democratic candidate for the Wisconsin State Senate District 21, covering Northeast Racine County and Southwest Milwaukee County. It's one of 3 seats Democrats need to flip the Wisconsin Senate for the first time in over 15 years to wrestle away that supermajority. Trevor Young, welcome. How are you doing today, my friend?
Thank you so much, Patty. And you introduced this segment with some really heart-wrenching updates around what the Trump administration is doing with transit. So glad I'm here to talk about why it's so important to Wisconsin.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing. I mean, there's so much happening so fast and dramatically, nationally, internationally, that stories like this that impact us directly are not necessarily being amplified. But let's start with you and then learn more about that. Where'd you grow up, my friend?
So I grew up right here in Racine. So I was actually born halfway across the world and adopted at the age of 2 from a Russian orphanage, and grew up in this all-American town known as Racine, Wisconsin. So went to public school, product of my neighborhood. And growing up, I had this real sense of gratitude that life could have been a whole lot different had my dad picked up the kids sitting next to me in the orphanage. And so having that sense of, gratitude and commitment to my hometown inspired me to go to school for urban studies and urban planning. And came home to serve the public and serve my hometown. So that's what inspired me to do that and why I'm here today.
I just got goosebumps, by the way. That's an amazing story. There's a young man, one of my son's best friends, who is absolutely devoted to public transportation. He's getting his master's this year, starting on urban planning as well, with transportation as his focus. So what an incredible journey. I mean, in all the ways. So tell us a little bit about, then coming into this role, what inspired you to, what was first? Was alderperson first or the transit job first?
Yeah, so served on the city council right after getting home from college, and twice elected to that role, and served as the chair of the Transit Commission. And my academic field of focus was directed towards transportation policy. My time on the city council was oriented around transportation policy, and so it was a real honor to be able to get into this role. But being both an elected official and facilitating such a vital public service gave me a first row seat to how destructive Republican policies are around the basics, whether that's access to jobs, access to school, access to doctor's appointments, the austerity of the Walker era. And now what you're talking about, which is this assault from the Trump administration on, the basic functions of government. This is not, political polarized issues. This is about transportation. Nothing brings people together like tires and wheels and making sure you can fill up your gas tank or making sure you can get to work. And that has been a issue that Republicans have stampeded on, and that's what inspired me to run for state senate, so that the first time in almost 2 decades, Democrats can get control of the Wisconsin State Senate.
Yeah, it has been, just thinking of those images of Governor Walker and the rotunda and all the unions across the state, fighting for what they had already earned it was remarkable. And obviously we're still feeling the effects of whether it's the gerrymandering, again, the supermajority that Republicans have had and done a lot of damage. So tell us about you. So you run Ride Racine, and so tell our listeners, what is it like to manage a $10 million transit budget that actually, what does that buy a city like Racine, and what happens to that budget when you see these cuts coming down the pipe from DC?
Sure. Yeah, we provide over 1 million unique rides a year. So whether that's paratransit services for the elderly or disabled, or fixed route transportation for students and workers, it's our job to make sure that folks can get to where they need to go. And, Republicans in the Wisconsin State House and Republicans in Congress have made that increasingly harder and harder. Over 50% of our budget is either state aids or aids from the federal government, because obviously fares don't cover the cost of providing this vital public service. And so what's happening is local property taxpayers are now footing the bill because Republicans in Madison and Washington have abandoned their responsibilities. And that makes the region also less competitive. I mean, we're talking about workers being able to get to work, employers being able to employ people to get to their products to market. And so if you believe in a growing economy in Wisconsin being a competitive place where you can start a business and you can build things like we used to, then the last place that you would cut is access for your workers to get to the job site. And so just getting the basics right is why I'm running, because I think that life should be more affordable. The American dream should be well within reach. And those who are elderly and disabled should have the same freedom and mobility as anybody else. And so, whether it's Republicans advocating for special interests and corporations, or hopefully a new Democratic majority in Wisconsin advocating for working people, that's what inspired me to jump in this race.
What are the impacts so far? What have you had? Is there anything you've had to change in the wake of changes at the federal level?
Well, fortunately, because of the Biden administration, we've seen ARPA basically cushion what will be pretty dramatic changes that will be necessary if there aren't changes directly in Madison, which is why I decided to run this cycle. I love my job. I love what I do. As the director, we've got 80 plus employees, union employees. We have a great relationship between management and labor, and we provide a vital service. But I see the writing on the wall if nothing changes. And we can't keep leapfrogging crisis to crisis with federal relief dollars without a fundamental change in priorities in Madison. And so that's why I decided to jump in this race now, because I don't want to see routes cut. I don't want to see hours limited, because, life requires you to be able to get to work second or third shift. And if you limit those employment opportunities for folks, Wisconsin is left behind.
Absolutely. And for folks who are, by the way, are you on you're not in today's primary, because we're taping this as Wisconsin is at the polls live, right? So you are on the general ballot?
Yeah, on the general ballot, we are uncontested in the primary, fortunately. Yes, so thank you. But I wish luck to all of those who are Democrats on the primary today. Wish them well.
So as you're out meeting folks, door knocking, having events, what are some of the things that you're hearing from folks? I mean, you have the expertise in transportation, but as you mentioned, that also, makes you somebody who has taken a role in people's employment because of getting them to work, or you mentioned disabilities and you mentioned senior services. Those are all tied together. What are you hearing from folks at the doors or at your events about what's keeping them awake at night?
Well, I think number one is we have an affordability crisis in this country. Jobs are seemingly not that check you get from work isn't covering what it used to cover. And so the state of Wisconsin has a responsibility to make sure that life is more affordable and that the American dream is more accessible. I'll give an example for utility rates. We want to make sure that simply turning on the lights and buying groceries isn't a negotiation. And that's what it's become with these skyrocketing costs, whether that be Donald Trump, unleashing useless trade wars that are making life more expensive, or Republicans in Madison crafting a tax policy that advantages those who are already extremely well off. Folks who are living day to day are seeing their pocketbooks not stretch as far as it used to. And so it's going to be our job to make sure that housing is more affordable, make sure that childcare is more affordable, make sure that utilities are put in check, and make that a priority of public policy. In the state of Wisconsin, it is more expensive to send your child to childcare than it is to university.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable. I mean, talk about the families that are now choosing between going to work, supporting themselves and their family, contributing to the Wisconsin economy, or staying home. This is, again, limiting the economic potential of the state. And that is a direct policy decision of decades-long leadership for Republicans in the Wisconsin State Assembly and Senate. And we're going to turn our attention to working people and make sure that they inform policy, not the big special interests.
Are there folks that you've talked to that, perhaps, because we went door knocking in Kenosha, Racine, Elkhorn, and it was, and the organizations there do such great work. And it seemed as though, for example, in Elkhorn, like I was there for almost a week in the area door knocking with folks. We brought the fibs for Wisconsin. And there was the sense that like the Republican Party wasn't even like bothering. Like I would go by the office in Elkhorn and didn't see anybody around. And so there was sort of this presumption of victory, it seemed. And they were, there were such great inroads made by those organizations with Democrats. Are you hearing from people who maybe voted for the Trump administration or have voted for Republicans in Wisconsin and now are like, this is, the damage is being done here. I'm willing to vote for a Democrat if that's what it takes, or even like sit it out, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. The conversations that I'm having with folks when it comes up, the occupant of the White House, the president, it really is about civility and it's about ethics. People are pretty sick and tired of the anger, the nastiness, the vitriol, but they're also tired of using public office as a personal piggy bank. And so I think, yeah, right. And so like those two objections of people who, are in all intents and purposes, Republican or conservative voters, because they want, limited government. They want to, not spend money we don't have. These are reasonable discussions that we can have. But I think because of the extreme level that the president has taken the GOP, I think a lot of folks are turned off. Now, that doesn't mean that we aren't going to have to earn every single vote. This still is going to be an extraordinarily competitive election in the most purple of purple states in a district that is the most purple of purple districts. So, my message to folks is that I'm willing to work with Republicans, Democrats on issues that are going to help working people. And my experience in local elected office and providing an essential service to get folks to work, I know that our number one job is to make sure that hard work is rewarded. And I think we can do that in a bipartisan manner.
This is going to be an incredibly competitive race. I don't know what the results have been in the past when a Democrat has challenged the incumbent. And the Democrats need to flip at least 2 seats to flip the Senate. And yours is one of the 3 targets, obviously, that Democrats are coming in and putting a lot of effort and resources into. Your opponent is Van Wanggaard. Am I saying his name right? Van Wanggaard?
Great update, Patty. Senator Wanggaard, who is the incumbent in this seat, announced his retirement.
When did he do that?
A couple months ago.
Oh my gosh! I'm so sorry. I don't have updated information.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
So who's running? Who's running?
So it is an open seat. And there is a gentleman who is running for the seat. His name is Jim Croft. Really don't know much about him. I'm sure he's a good. Happen to disagree, and so it's an open seat in a district that Governor Evers, Democrat, won by 1 point. Senator Baldwin won by 1 point. Vice President won by 1 point. Joe Biden won by 1 point. So it's an open seat in a what we hope is a good year for Democrats, and we're going to earn every vote.
Interesting. Yeah, I apologize for not having the updated information. That is wild.
That is wild.
Yeah.
We benefit from that, certainly.
Yeah, well, and I think that the time is right. So it's incredible timing on everyone's part, and obviously not by design, because you didn't know it was going to be an open seat. You were taking on the challenge of taking on an incumbent regardless. Exactly. We started out with your incredible story of how that you were adopted and raised in Racine by your dad, a small business owner. So tell us, a little bit about what this means to you personally. I know you talked about it, the policy and things, but beyond the policy, tell us a bit about what this means for you and your family and your community.
Yeah, well, I owe everything to my hometown. I am a product of Racine, and I have seen the state legislature turn its back on the people that I grew up with. Hardworking, good people who care about their neighbors and their family. And they've done that by slashing public education, by prioritizing those who are already extraordinarily well off, rather than the people in the neighborhoods that I'm a product of. They've cut shared revenue, which is support for local government to make sure that police and fire and DPW, Department of Public Works employees are plowing the streets and picking up garbage. I mean, they have made it harder every step of the way to have an improved quality of life for people in my neck of the woods. Racine was once known as Invention City. More patents per capita than anywhere else in the United States of America. We had the first publicly funded technical college in the United States, Racine College, now Gateway Technical College. And that spirit of investing in the future and innovating has been abandoned because a state legislature has given up on communities like Racine. And we can do better. We can make sure that Racine, again, is a place that everybody is proud to call home, and all of the 21st District. The interesting thing about the 21st District is that it is a microcosm of the state. Here you have a district that has urban, Racine, rural, Caledonia, Raymond, and suburban, Franklin, Greenfield, Greendale. And so the way we perform here and the way we communicate about the issues here matters all across the state. Because if we can win in the 21st, we can win in Wisconsin.
Outstanding. I really appreciate the fact that you're running, why you're running. And the last 30 seconds, let's give folks why you are the person who should lead Racine. And again, this is State Senate District 21. That's Northeast Racine County and Southwest Milwaukee County. On the ballot November 3rd is Trevor Young. Tell folks about yourself for 30 seconds about what what your mission is, what your vision is, and why they should elect you.
Yes. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate you being a host of this. Here's somebody who is adopted from Russia, owes everything to their hometown, served on the city council, serves as the transit director, making sure folks can get to work, get to school, get to doctor's appointments, have seen up close and personal the importance of state policy and making sure that hard work pays off. And we're going to prioritize affordability, education, jobs training to make sure that the American dream is accessible to folks. And we know we can do this because this is one of two seats Democrats need to flip the state Senate. And this is a 50-50 district that we're going to have to earn every vote, and we certainly will by having these conversations. So I'm proud of the fact that we've launched a campaign focused on the future that's positive, that's energetic, that's civil. And we've got a real shot at changing people's lives here in Wisconsin.
That's Trevor Young. Find him at trevoryoung.com. And this is one of those races I'm sure will be going up with Fibs for Wisconsin. Folks, this is a race that you can have an impact on. You heard him say that a lot of these races were won by 1 point by Democrats, by Vice President Harris, by President Joe Biden, by Senator Tammy Baldwin. And so we really need to get in there and do the best that we can to help out. Plus, we can stop at the Broad Stop on the way home. I'm just saying. Right. Thank you so much, Trevor. And your social media handles for folks to follow you there as well?
Trevor Young for State Senate, and that's JUNG.
Excellent. Be well. Go get them. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to following your race.
Thanks, Patty.
Thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody. Talk to you again tomorrow. Thank you, Paul and Lady B.